This is Clockwork. Clockwork is a clock source, clock multiplier, clock divider, syncable LFO, envelope generator, random sample and hold, MIDI-to-CV, and a lot more. Let's jump straight into it. At its core, Clockwork has a clock, which you can start by flicking the switch up and down. Each channel outputs this clock in some form. So you can divide it, multiply it, change its shape, do a lot of stuff with it. You can toggle through the clock pages, the output pages, by flicking the switch down. If you hold it a little longer, you can go back one page. You can see here it switches to the pages and then gets to the global page where you get to the global settings. Let's quickly just connect this clock to a filter so we can hear it. And we can hear it basically tick on every rise and fall. On the global page, you can set the clock speed with the main knob. If you switch in the middle, the X knob changes swing, which we can't really hear right now. The Y knob changes randomization. You can hear it kind of like humanizes a bit. And if you go a little further, it actually sometimes randomly skips a beat or randomizes some of the outputs, which is applied in the filter. There's a filter on the signal, so if you turn it back down, everything is back to normal. If you flick the switch up, main knob changes the PPQN for the pulse input, the X knob changes the random seed for all the random functions, and the Y knob changes the pulse 2 input between gate and run. Everything you can also set up in the web UI on top here, as you can see here. If you hold the switch down, you get to the load save menu, so you can go between 6 different slots and reset here, and then either load or save to that slot, or we can also just reset. Let's do some stuff with our clock. If you use the main knob on the page, which you want to change, and the switches to the middle, you can change the clock divider multiplier. For example, we could take this clock from 1 to 2 and multiply it by 2, or 3, and we get triplets, quadruplets, and so on. You can see it only applies to setting after you set it. The display shows every setting in binary, and you can see here our clock is kind of out of sync right now. If you just reset the sequencer, you will get back in sync. This happens if you change clock speeds and you kind of like run out of sync with the other pulses. If you go a little further right, over 128, you get to the clock source. So this takes basically another channel as its source for its clock. So you could use channel 2 to clock channel 1, which is quite helpful for things like random sample and hold, which I'll show you later, or if you want to create synced LFOs, for example, to one clock source and like one division. And if you go fully right, you get to MIDI input. This is MIDI channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you can change it in web UI. And this allows you to, instead of using the internal clock source as a source of trigger, you can use an external MIDI trigger or MIDI-CV, like MIDI velocity or pitch, to output through this channel, because the card also can sync to an external clock source. If you go left, you can also divide the clock. That's for our case. Go straight to the middle. To make our patch a little bit more interesting, we'll also use the clock SFM a little bit later. On the up page, you can change the shape of your wave with this knob. So you could do things like use a sine wave or a triangle wave, for example, or a saw. You can also just go straight for the gate or a ratchet here. This is a gate here, for example. On the X knob, you change the strength. And this is bipolar, so you can't hear it through the filter, but you can see it on the left. This is positive, and this goes negative. This is a case for unipolar sources like gates or envelopes. They switch polarity. Bipolar sources like sine wave, for example, they are either unipolar or they go bipolar between minus and plus. The Y knob changes some wave parameter. For example, on the gates, it changes the gate length. And let's quickly switch to the UI. And on the ratchet, it changes the ratchet distance, or actually the amount. On the sine, it changes the phase of the sine wave. On triangle, it changes the symmetry of the triangle wave. This might be actually a bit easier to hear if we put in and you can see here we go bipolar. It goes bipolar. On the trapezoid, you can change the width. On the hump, you also can change the lean of the hump. On the envelope, you set the decay. On the log envelope, you can set the length of the envelope. On sample and hold, you change the slew rate. This is a linear slew, and there's also a smooth slew if you go to smooth. And the other ones are for later. Let's go back to gate and output a short gate signal. Oh, actually, let's use an envelope for this because we want to make it a kick drum. And put the envelope into the FM. And we've got our kick. Let's explore Euclidean rhythms next. For this, let's create a quick sort of like snare noise drum. By using some noise and using the ring modulator to modulate that noise. Let's use our slopes and maybe one of the pulse output channels to trigger the slopes. This way we have got really nice straight control over our decay. And let's go to channel 5 first shorten the trigger. Then let's multiply this by maybe like 4. And then we can use the X knob to change our Euclidean steps. In this case, maybe let's do 12, and then use, let's say like 5 fills. And then we could use another channel, like our second channel here, to output maybe I think a triangle would be nice. That we maybe skew to the left and use that as our CV. And maybe divide this by 3. Nice. Let's do our bass next. We'll use one of the CV outputs. So our CV source. And maybe let's use our second pulse output to drive slopes. Let's shorten this. Actually, we want to shorten this. And make this 0. On our CV source, we want to switch to sample and hold. Bipolar. In this case, let's turn off the slew. And double the speed. And I think we are the phase, so let's quickly restart. Maybe let's use some Euclidean rhythm. And make it loop. In this case, you can hear in the background, we always change even though we don't trigger. So let's use channel 6 as a trigger source. And now our sample and hold is in sync with our trigger. And to not make it completely random, let's let it loop maybe if we don't like the sequence, we can just switch the seed. All the CV output channels also have the option to take an external CV input. In this case, for example, we could use for voltages and if we feel very fancy, we could also quantize our sequence. I switch down. And why not? Let's quantize to harmonic minor. And you can see here, we can make some really nice playable patches. We could also take, let's say, CV2 and make this a saw wave and use and this way we can do things like arpeggios by quantizing our sequence, for example. As you might be able to tell, the possibilities are kind of endless. You can also, if you go to the last wave shape, do some math and do operations between the waves. Like you could multiply two waves with each other. There's a delay, which allows you to delay CV, but also audio, and a lot more. But I think I'll keep it for that for this video, and let me know if you have any questions. Have fun with it!